One, so Mayor's Office on Smart City Vision. So we have Shireen Sandershan, and he has a presentation.
Yeah, I do.
Unfortunately, my room is upstairs. So.
Oh, no, that's well, before I start, I just want to first say thank you so much for letting me come and speak with you today. And I feel really blessed and lucky to come on this day because clearly you all have such a great history and have contributed so much to the community. And so, you know, what I'm going to do is talk for just about 10 minutes about the Smart City Vision and what the mayor has laid out. But even though I'm giving the presentation, I actually feel as though I really want to learn from all of you about how we can make sure that this vision is something that really benefits your neighborhoods and your communities. Because we're in the process of just shaping it right now. So I'll take it. I'll take you through, you know, what it is, and we can kind of go from there and just have a conversation. So first of all, my name is Shireen, and I am the Chief Innovation Officer for Mayor Liccardo. And can you hear me okay?
A little closer, Mayor.
Okay.
Your name again?
Shireen.
Shireen.
Yes. And I'm the Chief Innovation Officer for Mayor Liccardo. It's a new role in the city, and it's actually a role that a lot of cities around the country have created. And the idea behind it is really that we have all these tools available to us in the private sector. We have a lot of technology tools available, and cities have been sort of falling behind some of those trends. And so a lot of cities are creating this position to help drive innovation throughout City Hall and engage with communities better. And so, you know, my role is really to help shape and drive the Smart City Vision with the mayor, with the council, and with our staff. So let me take you through sort of what it means. And you know, the first thing is, you know, we talk about smart city, and so there's a lot of different definitions of smart cities, but at its heart, a smart city is really just about using technology and data to make decisions and drive continuous improvement. And you know, we really want to deliver concrete benefits around safety, sustainability, economic opportunity, and the quality of life for constituents. So it's not innovation for innovation's sake, it's not technology for technology's sake, but it's really about how do we use these tools to drive real public benefit. And so why are we doing this now? Why is this the right time? And I think that the first issue is the fiscal position, right? So many of you have been through those many years of fiscal tightening and hard years, and now we're at a place where we really are stable and can start to look at reinvesting and rebuilding in a new and smarter way. The second reason is really around resident demand. So we hear from all of you and all of your citizens and residents that, hey, why can I go to Amazon and get something delivered to my doorstep in 2 days and it takes me 3 months to get something done with the city? And so residents are really looking for better service delivery. The third is around city growth. So you've all heard the statistics that the city is going to grow by 40% by 2040. So over 400,000 people in less than 15 years. And without working in new ways, we're just simply not going to have the resources to continue to deliver services at this level, much less at a higher level. And then the last reason is that there is a lot of innovation happening in City Hall, and there's lots of I'd say entrepreneurial spirit within City Hall, but it's been sort of trapped in these little pilots within little departments, and there hasn't really been a comprehensive vision or strategy around it. And so this is really about bringing all those small pieces together into a unified strategy. So what is the Smart City Vision? It's really built on 5 pillars. And those 5 pillars are building a safe city, building an inclusive city, building a user-friendly city, a sustainable city, and a demonstration city. And what does it mean to have a safe city? So a safe city is really about using data and analytics to help our police, our fire, departments, work better and work smarter. And, for example, we know that we have a Vision Zero goal here, which is 0 traffic fatalities, and some of the work that our data analytics team, which is small but mighty, just 2 folks right now, have done is that they've actually helped map out 14 high-risk accident corridors in the city. And then they've actually, mapped the whole city, and they've helped to develop an app for our police officers to help them understand what kinds of accidents and what kinds of incidents might be happening on each corner, and help them look out for that, right? And so those are the kind of, using data in a new way can help the city be safer. Building an inclusive city is really about making sure that, as we use more technology tools, that we're not leaving some of our residents out, right? So we know that there's rising inequality in this region overall, and we want to make sure that we have a Silicon Valley that's open to everyone, and that we are also utilizing tools that are used by various communities, right? So in some communities, maybe access to the internet is not very high, but people use text messaging a lot, right? So are we using appropriate technology for different populations? So Inclusive City is really about making sure we're using the right technology tools, as well as doing things like we have a Tech Hire initiative, which allows young people who don't have 4-year college degrees to actually get trained and get placed into Silicon Valley companies. So that's what it means to be an inclusive city. A user-friendly city is probably a lot of the things that you struggle with and your residents struggle with in dealing with the city. So how do we go paperless? How do we make the permitting process more streamlined? How do we make sure that we are being more customer-oriented versus oriented around how, internally, right, around how the departments are working? The sustainable city, I think, is something it's pretty self-explanatory. So how are we using technology to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, get more electric vehicle charging stations? What are we doing to sort of innovate and get eventually sort of off the grid? And so, I think that's a goal that we all share. And then the demonstration city is really about testing the most innovative products and services that can help advance civic innovation in the city. And so we already have a demonstration policy. We are surrounded by the most innovative companies in the world right here in San Jose. And so how can we really use the city as a platform and start to be sort of a beacon of light for the rest of the country and the rest of the world around these innovations that will dramatically change the way people live and work in the future. So that's sort of the vision overall. And we've laid out that vision. It was passed unanimously by City Council in March. And, we are continuing to work on a couple of high priority projects. So it's not that, we're waiting to finish. So we have the vision, we're starting to build out a work plan around it, but we, at the same time, are working on a lot of different projects. And I'll just highlight a couple of the projects that I think are interesting. So one is around our open data policy. So in April, right after Smart City Vision was passed, we also passed an open data policy. And what this does is opens all of the city data sets by default. So all city departments will be required to publish all of their data in one place on an open data platform. And that's over 600 data sets. And they will all be in machine-readable formats, and then we'll also have visualizations around them. So, all of the issues that you've had around accessing City Hall data will start to go away over time. And so this will be, we're at the beginning stages of this. It'll be complete by 2020, but we already have several data sets up on the Open Data Portal. Another interesting thing that that I think is a good example of the kind of demonstration and innovative things that we're doing is that we have a partnership with Facebook. So you may have heard about this, and it's called Terragraph Internet, and it's an open source wireless network. So it basically takes your existing fiber in your ground and amplifies it at gigabit speed plus for free to all our downtown areas. So this is like wickedly fast Wi-Fi on steroids, right? So it's very, very fast, free internet that will be open source. And Facebook, what's in it for Facebook is that it allows them to test this technology in a real city environment And their goal is really to deploy it internationally. So trying to get access to all of these customers that are in international cities, but they can test it, here with us in San Jose, they'll turn over the network to us. And so it's a great example of how we can lead the way on it from a technology perspective. So those are just two examples of projects. There's lots going on. The other one I think I just want to highlight briefly is this neighborhood dashboard concept, which I know a lot of your residents are probably feel is long overdue, which will be, it's basically an app that will allow you to both report on issues like potholes and illegal dumping in your neighborhoods, as well as have sort of everything you'd want to know about your neighborhood in one app, right? So what's going on. And so we're planning on building this out in a modular way. So we'll first do the reporting aspects of it, and hopefully by the end of the year we'll have version 1 out, and then sort of build it over time to increase civic engagement. So those are some of the high priority projects we're currently working on. And then just to highlight some of the other things that are already happening in City Hall that you might not know about. A lot of these pilot solutions, so these innovative people within City Hall are trying different things, but nobody ever hears about them. And one of them I want to highlight is the HVAC team. So the HVAC team are the team that does all the temperature control for all the buildings, city-owned buildings. And before, if there was a temperature issue in one of the buildings, they'd have to go into each of those buildings and manually update it. And someone on one of their teams, which was an innovative person, said, hey, why don't we get some service pros and then just do this remotely? So they've started to be able to adjust temperature using their mobile devices remotely, and it saves the city a lot of money, it saves them a lot of time, and it allows them to really collaborate more effectively, right? So they're deploying more efficiently because they can communicate with each other and say, hey, I'm close to this building, you're close to that building. And so I think there's a lot of these kinds of stories that we're not very good at telling. And so our hope is that we can start to find these innovative initiatives and give them an avenue to scale throughout the City Hall. So where are we in the process? We had the Smart City Vision, which was passed on March 29th. If you've seen the document, it's quite high level. It's not a detailed work plan, but the goal was really to say, in the city, of course, we have the city council form of government, and so to get the whole council aligned around, hey, this is where we want to go, and make sure we were all moving in the same direction. And so that's what we did in March, and got council blessing on that unanimously. So, all council members were very supportive of the initiative. We're starting the process of work planning, and we're also, in the process of, once the budget is passed in June, at the end of this month, we'll start to staff up around the innovation team. So, one of the things I think that are the key success factors for a project like this is oftentimes what happens is people just put words on paper, but then they don't actually put the resources and the organization behind it. And we haven't done that in this case. So, I think there's sort of 3 elements that are really important. So one is empowering investing in people, so really tapping into the entrepreneurship that's already there, training our staff, and helping them, through this process. The second, and also, sorry, in terms of people, we actually are, creating an office of innovation within the city manager's office. So instead of this just being sort of a mayor's initiative, this is actually a permanent office that will sit in the city manager's office and will help drive that change through City Hall. And then separately, in terms of accountability incentives, we are also creating a permanent standing committee in City Council that will oversee the implementation of the Smart City Vision and a digital strategy for the city. So we haven't actually invested a lot in sort of the IT infrastructure because of the budget cuts over the last year. And so what you'll start to see is more investment in the IT area because we're just at that point where things are breaking and we really need to start reinvesting there if we're going to be able to use some of these tools. And then the last thing is we're being really effective about our partnership strategy. And so we have a partnership we have a couple key partnerships. One is with Bloomberg Philanthropy, so Michael Bloomberg from New York. He sponsors our city actually, and they give us a lot of support around open data and data analytics. So they actually have expert teams that consult with our data analytics team and then consult with all of our city departments on things like these traffic issues, on behavioral insights. So how do you get behavior changes in certain areas? So one of the behavior change projects is we know we have a problem with police recruiting, and specifically we have noticed that minority candidates tend to drop off in the recruitment process. And so we're working with the Behavioral Insights team, which is through this Bloomberg Philanthropies project, to help us understand what's happening and then help retain more minority candidates for our police force. So, really innovative projects like that. We have, we're part of the White House Police Data Initiative, so that's all about transparency in policing data. So we've signed up to be one of about 50 cities in the United States, so the first wave of cities to create more transparency around policing data. And there are many other partnerships that we have with private sector companies like Facebook, Google, Comcast. So we're looking not just sort of internally, but we're also looking to see how we can use businesses and philanthropic resources more efficiently. And then the last thing I just want to highlight quickly is, at its heart, this is a lot about mindset shifts, right? So this is about changing the way that we work and taking a new and fresh look at the way City Hall has operated historically, right? So, one thing is we really want to integrate digital tools into the daily work of City Hall. So you've probably been around enough to see how much paper we push, and trying to shift that to more streamlined digital tools will help our staff work more efficiently and help serve residents better. The second is really having a relentless focus on customer service, right? So are we serving the user and all of you, and not doing the things that are easiest to do in the departments? And being user-centric is one of the core principles of this vision. The third is around protecting individual privacy, right? So everybody has concerns about this, and so as we use more technology tools, this is of utmost importance to us, and will continue to be, top of mind in everything that we do. The fourth is something I mentioned before, which is, technology solutions that are accessible to all residents, right? So are we making sure that we have translation, we're using multiple forms of digital tools, or frankly sometimes not using digital tools and using paper for communities that need sort of more direct outreach. And so we'll be very thoughtful in that process as well. The fifth is around partnerships, right? So we're not trying to build a lot of bureaucracy here. We're really trying to keep a lean team and partner effectively to get a lot of stuff done in a short amount of time. The sixth is about embracing calculated risks, right? So local government is a risk-averse institution, and so how do we really start to encourage people to fail quickly and fail in small ways, and iterate and learn and then scale? And so that's a big challenge for us, but it's something that we're committed to. The seventh is around, really amplifying the expertise of the workforce here, right? There's a lot of people who have a lot of deep knowledge about the community and have worked here for many years, but may not have technology tools. So how do we combine their good ideas with some cool technology platforms, and then we can come up with really effective interventions. And then the last is, of course, at the end of the day, we do need to align with council priorities, and so making sure that we're allocating the resources on the problems and that are most important to our residents and to the council is very important. So these are kind of the way that we will guide our work. And this is, quite a bold vision, and it's on a short time frame. So this is all supposed to be completed by 2020, so we don't have a lot of time, and we're, hitting the ground running and doing a lot of things in a short period. And that's it. So I'll see if there's some questions.
Okay, David.
First question, is this available, is that presentation available online today?
It's not available online. The Smart City Vision, there is a website with essentially the same information. Oh, well, I guess it is available online because this was what I presented to council in March. So the same presentation.
So if I wanted to see this, I would have to go find the council meeting that it was presented on, then look through the agenda, and then click to this and click to this to get that. I'm joking, I'm sorry, Catherine.
You do have to make a very good point about the number of those required.
Yeah, we do wish to
But
have
I'm turned out, so you won't see any more of that.
We do wish to have copies of the presentations on our website, so we can refer to
Sure,
better.
I'll leave it here for you.
Yeah, so, yeah, if you leave with Ernest, then we can
Okay.
refer, because we report out to our districts and say, this is what we saw, and we'd like to give a link to the
Okay.
presentation.
No, no problem.
Yes, I'd like to ask the question. Is this available on the smart book that he put out? This information?
A smart book?
Yeah, he has a smart book out. Smart City?
I'm not
The
familiar.
mayor does.
The mayor has a physical book.
Yeah, yes. Is this available, this information in that book?
No, this is slightly different. So I worked with the mayor on this document, and it does reflect his priorities in the book, but it is, I would say, more streamlined and focused in terms of priority areas.
It's just that I have his book, so that's the reason I was asking the question. That way I could look into it. But,
Yeah.
all right, thank you.
Yeah.
So it's available online.
Yeah, Nicole?
Yeah, no, sorry. So this website, there is a Smart City Vision website that has all of this information already online. Just this presentation is not like online except for in the council notes. So, but it's basically all the same information is available online.
Okay.
Hi, we had a member commissioner named Joe Cordwell, and he's since left us. And he was in charge of permitting and planning for the city, and those systems were like in dire need of upgrade, et cetera. And he worked for maybe a decade to get them upgraded, and I think he retired before that happened. Is there a carved out initiative to improve the permitting process? And sort of the corollary to that is we're not permitting for permitting's sake. We're permitting to build safe buildings. I would say improving those systems would unleash a whole new set of businesses, the performance of those businesses. I see those guys be sitting in that lobby area for a full day, taking phone calls from new clients who they can't serve because they're sitting waiting for a permit. So if that's not already in place, how could it be something that would become a priority, or who would drive that?
So it's a very high priority. And in terms of the permitting system itself, so the contracting process for the upgraded system is just completing now. So they're starting to implement that new system this year. They also have started to do, I think we have about 50 permits now available online. And we're moving to more digital plan submissions. And the system will have a lot more functionality than it did before. What you're hitting on too is there's the technology pieces that will allow us to improve the process sort of in one step. But part of it is also there's a need for code reform. There's a need to kind of change and update the business processes. So there's an effort now led by Harry Freitas to map out all the business processes and come up with process improvements. So he's hired a group called Management Partners Consulting, who they just released in a couple weeks ago their first report that showed where improvements could happen. It's both an improvement study as well as a fee study, so looking at where the fees are. And so there's a lot of work happening in that area, and I think it's not just a technology solution, it's also code reform, it's also about performance metrics, and it's also about sort of taking a hard look at, a lot of those systems have grown up where the city was smaller, and then now it turns out that 25% of public hearings are around tree permits, right? For a city of 1 million people. And so, I'll send you the links on the city council to those reports that are coming out, as well as the memo that we put out from the mayor's office specifically focusing on these areas. And many of these improvements should be available and ready within a year. So Harry Harry's had talked about that and is leading the effort. The other thing that I think is interesting is that they're piloting a program that will allow restaurants to have more coordination and open more quickly. Because restaurants, at least for our small business, within our small business ally group, the request from restaurants is about 65% of what they get asked for, right? So it's a huge need, and I think we all see in the neighborhoods the desire to have more of that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mimi?
Hi, thank you so much for that. Just to illustrate, Nicole, my architect and I sat in the lobby for 4 hours today.
Really?
Just to add 360 square feet to our home. So I can see where you're coming from.
Yeah.
My question was actually a little bit different. You talked about the Facebook Telegraph Internet.
Mhm.
Can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
Yeah, so Facebook is, so we have this, under our demonstration policy, which allows us to sort of test these very new and cool products and services. I mean, it's going to be free Wi-Fi downtown, but it'll be sort of stepwise, much faster than the wickedly fast Wi-Fi. So wickedly fast will still be around, but it'll just be, gigabit speed, so you can watch streaming video for free.
So it's only going to be downtown?
It's going to be downtown to start, and then we're talking about, we're still in discussions with them about targeted neighborhoods and other areas of the city. It's going to start downtown because that's where there's some technical specs around the buildings and having these, what they call urban canyons, which is how essentially the beam goes from place to place. And so the downtown area is most conducive to it.
Well, I would urge you to look into District 5. I know
And District 8.
The Hispanic community, there's a huge digital divide that has been identified by several players. So I would urge you to look into our districts
Yeah.
for that. You would be very welcomed.
Great. And I would actually love to talk to you all more about the digital divide issue, because one of the things that I'm working on this over the next year is a digital inclusion strategy for the whole city. So how do we make sure that we're not leaving anyone behind? And we partnered with an organization called FuseCore, and they're going to recruit, what they do is they do a national search for a fellow who will be, typically someone who's very high caliber from the private sector to come out of their normal, career path and spend a year with the city, and then they're going to help us build a digital inclusion strategy for the city. So they'll be working with Google and Facebook as well as the neighborhoods to kind of help come up with this comprehensive plan, as well as coordinate us in the city. So it would be great to talk to you about which community groups we should be involving to understand that digital divides and size it, because I think it's important to understand where the breakdown is, whether it's just an internet access, I think also an access to hardware and software, as well as sort of digital skills.
Excellent. We can work together.
I was going to say very quickly, when I got my bathroom remodeled permit last fall, I sat there for half an hour maybe, and then after a little over 15 minutes, I walked out with the permit. And when they needed an inspection, I just went on the website and clicked on the time I want, the next day they come and inspect, so I got no problems.
I think it's because we're adding square footage.
Maybe.
And
I don't doing it myself, so there's no contractors. But anyhow.
Thank God you're turned out. Those kind of comments.
It works sometimes.
Cheerleading for the city functionality.
I have a question about the Safe City part on the presentation. What does that cover again? And if it covers anything about crime reporting, how does that differentiate between the police website?
Yeah, so I think there's a few different elements to that. So one is the need for better usability and visualization of data. So we're working, with the police department around what that will look like. So there's some information that's there. There's also a desire to have more information around policing, so not around crime, but around use of force, officer involved shooting and that kind of data. And so we're also working together with the police department on what would it look like to start to release more data than is currently available. So.
One more thing. So would people be able to report incidences through that, or would they still be going to the police website?
So, do they currently report crimes through the police website? I don't. Not emergencies.
Not emergencies.
Oh, just general, like smaller crimes. To be honest, I haven't had discussions with them about that aspect, but I'm happy to bring it up with them to see. What is your suggestion?
If you're gonna, I would say if you're gonna incorporate a safe city portion into the smart vision, to find a way to correlate, making it easier for residents, than what the San Jose PD website currently offers.
Yeah.
It's a little complicated.
It's difficult.
Yeah. So whatever you might be able to come with, make that easier. So.
Yes.
Do you have? I'm on the safe your webpage, the Smart City Vision, and I noticed there's a lot of goals in here, and like you've mentioned, is there some way that you're going to? Do you actually have a number goal that says, reduce by X% this year, Y% that year? In other words, to measure your success toward these goals?
So on the Smart City Vision right now, they are very high level, and what we're starting to do now is we're going to go through a work planning process where we'll start to define those goals more closely. I think there's a balance between defining them strictly and saying, hey, we're going to move from X to Y, versus saying, here are the issues or problems that the city is facing, and then can we look at different ways of tackling those issues. And so as we work through that process, then you'll see more specificity about where we come out, but we're just at the beginning. But to answer your question in a shorter way, yes, there will be more specificity around it than there is today.
Linda, you had a question?
Yes, you mentioned you had some successes in different areas, but people don't hear about it. They don't hear about it. This is the place to bring those kinds of information, because then we go back to our communities and to our committees that we have there and report out. So this is a good place to bring any of those success stories so we can keep building up on the trust of the city.
Great, thank you. We'll come back.
Are you asking for an update in a year or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, Desiree, you had a question.
Desiree Berman, District 3. So many of our residents in District 3 have concerns about the clarity of new developments in our neighborhoods and how they're not posted to be easily found. A lot of our neighborhoods, we walk down the block and all of a sudden we see that there's a traffic study happening because there's going to be a 400 apartment complex coming up and we had no idea. So maybe we could get some kind of clarity and sunshine on the whole plans someday using the smart city strategy.
Yeah, I think that's a great suggestion. I'm also in District 3, so I live in District 3, so.
Pardon me. That was on a council agenda under numbers, letters, and words that are not necessarily easily to understand. And that was referred to and then passed there and in committee, and then it's published. But it's online someplace if you can find it. And if you can understand the language, numbers, and references, and drill through them to find the language in English that says, yeah, that's 400 units, and it's going to be on your block in 3 weeks.
Yeah, but I think the desire to have an easier version is, I agree.
Friendly.
It's a great suggestion.
So there was no noticing around.
So there's a lot of neighborhoods that don't get the notice until we hear it down the line, down the chain. We're like, well, when
They did not put up a billboard on the property. Aren't they supposed to put up a billboard with
the one that I'm currently talking about?
They're supposed to be, I believe. I think
There
it's not
is.
city policy, and I've
There
seen
is.
these billboards up in different places announcing it.
So I can give you an example. The Empire Lumber Building on East Santa Clara Street near South 28th. there's development in the works. It hasn't really been brought to the table officially, I guess. I don't know, it's kind of in limbo, but yeah. So.
That means they haven't put an application in yet.
Well, no, my only comment was that within our neighborhood, we had to, they noticed 500 feet around something happening at Almaden Ranch, which meant the fish in the river could have known about it, and the parking lot, the Best Buy would have known about it, Safeway might have known about it, but it didn't quite reach across to the neighbors that were going to be affected by it. So we had to work with the planning department to have it 1,000-foot notice and reschedule the meeting.
And then there's a city website, a city service you can sign up to get email once a week. And
Whether it's a click and a search and a click and a search and a search and a search.
true, but at least it gives you a few hints.
Oh, it is.
I want that part of the smart city.
Yes.
Someday.
Okay, any other questions?
I have a question. So, Marcus comes to District 4. A little bit about the Facebook. Are they gonna? Is this something they gotta construct, or they're to get the Wi-Fi here in downtown, or is it current stuff that's already being used?
So they will put boxes up on poles. It'll be very high up, and I'm working with Facebook and actually with District 3 on communications for the community around what it will be, but it shouldn't be a real big eyesore.
Yeah, so they're not going to be like how some of the telephone companies that put up fake trees and other trees, just a lot of different stuff that doesn't look right.
No,
This will
yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. And
In case we have any ideas for you about making it safer and smarter and all of that, could we have the spelling on your name?
Oh, sure. It's SHIREEN. My last name is SANTOSHAM. And I'll leave some cards here in case anybody wants them.
Great.
thank you.
I'd like to be a
Okay.
chief innovation officer.
Thank
Okay,
you so
thank
much.
you.
Thank you.